Thanks to Shadow for suggesting Japan for this video. Hello everybody. As you can read by the title, this video will be about Japan. Japan is an economic power nowadays and only has one rival in Asia to fight economically, which is China, because China is the second largest economy in the world. Today, because it was suggested in our last video by Shadow, thank you Shadow, it was very nice of you. Will be disbanded, meaning no NATO and no European Union. Japan, again, having a stronger army. Let's get into this history, shall we? Japan, having its democracy overthrown by a monarch party, has started to think of its great vast empire that it used to have back in the day. So, with a hard heart, they declare war on South Korea. Now, we all know this. South Korea is a pretty strong power, but Japan is stronger. We will be getting into naval capabilities in this video, as, well, they have quite a lot of islands to invade. Let's switch to that naval map, shall we? Japan, having its strong naval capabilities, well, South Korea only has control of some of North Korea, the coast, and all of their coastline with their islands. Surrounds one of the Japanese islands, which is this one right here. Oh, you can't see my mouse for some reason. Okay, there. Which is this one right here. And so, Japan has to start pushing back with its personal, stronger naval capabilities. Let's see that strong we can see the advancement pushing through this area right here. Messed up. Pushing through right here, surrounding these two islands and taking them both, and starting to touch the mainland, meaning we would have to meaning the mainland is about to be invaded. Let's go check that one out. With Japanese troops hitting the southern portion of South Korea, they start taking a lot of land, wiping out a few large armies across the way. Of course, with all this trouble that Japan is causing, a lot of countries around the world start seeing Japan as the biggest threat since an unspoken person up here. And so with the armies pushing up, and with Japan's way stronger naval capabilities, all of South Korea is taken. Let's go see that peace treaty. And of course, all of South Korea is annexed by Japan. Now, Japan could continue up the Korean Peninsula, which will bring them into a war with China, because China and North Korea have strong relations, or they can go to attack Taiwan. But attacking Taiwan will enrage Daddy United States, which Japan really doesn't want to do right now, since they only have a part of mainland Asia. And so they start looking to the north. Yeah, all these islands, those are all Russian. They're going to be Japanese soon. And so, of course, like they would, they declared war on Russia. All the Russian forces are in Ukraine right now, and not really are in this area, because this is Siberia right now. And so, forces start taking this major island. I don't know the name of this. I might have to do research on that. Taking this island and taking some of these smaller islands near their coast. I'll do them later. A continued push up the island shows strong but very pathetic Russian resistance until the entire island is forced to capitulate. And so with Russia finally seeing what's happening in their Siberian portion, they have to start sending troops towards Japan. And so with Japan taking all these islands and really wanting some more of that Russian land, they continue to push into this peninsula inside of Siberia. And then they send one of their largest forces that they will ever use in this invasion up the coast, wiping out some of the largest armies in this area, which are not even that large of armies, to be honest, until this entire area is forced to capitulate. Continued push into Russian territory really scares Russia, showing that they are losing a lot of land to a small, pathetic island in Asia. And after they take and create a spearhead cutting off this last portion and making another naval front, Russia is starting to see that they will not win this war, and so Russia entirely capitulates. agreeing to sign peace negotiations with Japan. Let's see these peace negotiations, shall we? Japan really did get a large piece of land out of this war, taking all of the islands and this part of Siberia. They wanted it because they wanted to look bigger, which, if you do look at the world map, Japan looks a lot bigger. And so, with the confidence they have, they declare war on North Korea. And so, of course, declaring war on North Korea would bring China into this. Now, China is quite scary, economic big boy, with a lot of troops, actually. These two communist countries would really start pushing back Japan. But in this scenario, of course, Japan has a stronger army than they would normally. And so, they start pushing into North Korea and taking the capital in a matter of 2 weeks. And after a smaller push, they finally meet Chinese troops and start to get pushed back. And so with this pushback, it really wasn't going to look pretty. Until they are fully pushed back into near South Korea. And so a continued push happens, taking Seoul, which was one of the biggest cities in South Korea. Japan, having almost nothing to do, they start bombing the shells. Started bombing the beaches, which pushed them back. And another Japanese front continues. This time the front takes Pyongyang in a matter of 2 days and starts pushing into China, with taking all of their borders, and all their coastlines. North Korea is forced to capitulate to the Japanese. Japan starts taking more and more land quite quickly. In a matter of 3 months, they have claimed a lot more land than they started with. And so they start pushing into the Manchuria territory, pushing up and touching with Mongolia. Now, this would be a bad strategy because there's a lot of armies right here, but they cannot break through this area. And so, the entire collapse of Manchuria. So, with China really not doing so well, they make another landing on another piece of China and continue to push upwards. Of course, at this time, Russia would declare war, but in this scenario, it would make Japan just take more Russian land, and I don't really want that, to be honest. And so, another large push with another naval invasion, getting closer and closer to Hong Kong and Taiwan, two independent countries that didn't really want to get involved with this war, but might be dragged into it. A push through, taking out another area, and the two armies meet up, and a full invasion of China starts. This full invasion of China would be the largest invasion China's ever seen, with troops doing massive spearheads, wiping out large pieces of territory quite quickly. Of course, Japan being Japan, their citizens thought that all of this was to protect the great Japan, as they thought that China would attack them. And so a push for Beijing begins. The two armies agreeing to attack the coastline and meet up. And so they start to both push through the coastline, as Beijing is awfully weak. And so, with the entire coastline of this northern China, a siege of Beijing begins. This siege would last the entire war, as Beijing would fight for their lives. Japan committing multiple atrocities along the way, thinking it's perfectly fine. But we all know it isn't. The rest of China, seeing what was happening, starts up a revolution. And so these rebels sign a treaty with Japan, agreeing that, you know what, screw it. Japan, you can have this island, this territory, just let us keep the rest of China. And Japan agreed. And then eventually, after just 3 months of a siege, Beijing is forced to fall. With the fall of China, the borders were about to look a lot different. And so, with this new empire really rising up, if we look at the world map, that's a big empire. How'd they get there? And so, Japan, knowing that they could finally do it, they declare war on Taiwan. This isn't going to be fun. We all know this. After this declaration of war, the United States says, hey, you can't do that. And so they declare war on Japan. And so, naval capabilities really start showing as Japan is about to have a big naval battle coming up. As you can see, Japan has quite the naval capabilities of the United States. Because, well, Japan is the new strongest naval power in the world. And they control a lot of land, even near places like Alaska. And so, with all these places being pretty much fully under Japanese control, Taiwan's naval capabilities don't even stand a chance. They get destroyed instantaneously. As a push for Taiwan starts to happen, American forces appear and start a push, trying to take as much naval capabilities from Japan as they possibly can, touching Taiwan, giving Taiwan full access to this part of the sea so they can move out civilians. Civilian ships start making their way to the Philippines. And so the Philippines accept and starts giving full access to the northern Philippine part to American forces. And so, with American and Japanese forces fighting for territory, we all know this isn't going to end well. Okay, there we go, perfect. So now with this large push into Japanese waters, another push starts up here in the northern territories, taking out quite a large piece of land. Coastal territories. And so, with American forces pushing through, Japan knew, take Taiwan, the United States will be forced to surrender. And so, again, Japan does a full assault and getting some men onto Taiwan. Let's see how this ends, shall we? And so with these forces starting to push through, splitting Taiwan in two, because Taiwan is a small island. And so they started using Taiwan's navy to start defeating the United States, pushing the United States out of Asia. And with the fall of Taiwan, Japan decides to fully annex it, saying this: Taiwan is going to be our most popular island. And so, with the fall of Taiwan, Japan's conquest is over, taking over most of Asia, a big chunk of Asia, and appearing on the world map. The United States continues their war with Taiwan, but it eventually ends in a siege with Japan gaining the Hawaiian Islands, giving the United States only 49 stars. And so that's the end of today's video. Thank you, Shadow, for suggesting Japan. It was definitely different from Germany, because we had to introduce naval capabilities this time. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the content. And again, like yesterday, leave your suggestions down below for tomorrow's video. Thank you and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.